All right, hey guys, let's go ahead and get started. Let me run through a couple of things. We'll introduce our speaker, and then we'll break some bread together when she concludes, and we'll do a few action items as far as the chapter goes. Our speaker today is Kaylin Tu. We all know her. Well, most of us know her anyway. And so we'll have a chance to introduce ourselves in just a minute, so that we can kind of catch up a little bit. We're okay as far as time goes, but just a few minutes behind the intro. We'll just turn it over to you, and thank you for stepping in. By the way, our ATZ guys that were previously scheduled for today, that's the automated traffic zone guys, canceled on us earlier this week. And Kaylin, thank you for stepping in, stepping up, and sharing with us today. And we'll circle back with those guys at a later time. In the event of emergency, you guys know what we're going to do. We're all going to go together outside in a fire emergency. Otherwise, we're going to go around the corner into the hallway there. They have a marked designated assembly area. Don't expect any bad weather today, but just for the sake of knowing it, we'll formally walk our way into the meeting with our pledge and prayer. For leading us, and tell us what you have to say.
So I'm Kaylin Tu. If y'all don't know me, PG and a certified instructional trainer as well. I work with USA State as the environmental services manager. So I'm going to be discussing today a little bit about our pollution prevention program, which is a program that's free. We come into your facility and look for any kind of pollution prevention options that you have that not only would save you money, but also is good for the environment. So we're going to look a little bit at that program now. Go down. Not doing it. Neither one. Maybe I'll try to work your computer, see if that works. Technical difficulty.
It's just. There we go.
So y'all probably know UA Safe State. Obviously, we've got our occupational health and safety branch, which most of you work with. I'm in the environmental programs branch, so we do industrial facility audits. We look at compliance for stormwater, SPCC. We also do lead and asbestos accreditation for the state and manage the lead and accreditation training programs. We audit those. That's more my side, is the lead and asbestos accreditation. We also have training and conferences, the government and health and safety conference that we have every year. And we're going to look specifically at this pollution prevention program. As I mentioned, this is our environmental programs. This is a grant that we have to work in joint facilities for free. It's confidential. We will go in and look for different options, present them. So we'll look at a few of these options. I think I have a video you'll have to play to kind of give the overview here. Yeah, so that gives a really good overview of what we do. What we're actually looking at now, our most recent grant cycle, we're going to be looking at food and beverage industry mostly. So if you know of anyone who's in the food and beverage industry and is looking for some simple fixes, we usually look for low-hanging fruits, food and energy efficiency projects. Definitely send them our way. So we're going to go over it. We're going to talk about a little more in detail what P2 is, the benefits of having your P2 program, how to get started, and then lastly, a lot of people are right there and just don't realize it. So we will be looking first at what P2 is, and y'all know the hierarchy of controls for health and safety, I know. So what we're looking at is for environmental. So the first thing we want to do is reduce pollution at the source if possible, just like elimination for the hierarchy of controls. If you can't do that, then you want to move on to the recycling. If recycling is not an option, maybe you need to do energy recovery if it's heat waste or something like that that you can use in another purpose. If not, we go to treatment and release. And finally, what we don't want to do is get to just disposal or other releases. So what we're doing with P2 is we're trying to find anything that can eliminate it at its source. We will also, if there's not that option, kind of offer some recycling options or treatment options, but we really want to stick with source reduction if possible. So some things we look at, the major ones we usually check are the chemical usage, energy efficiency, water usage and conservation, a value stream and carbon footprint, waste and reuse, and then air systems emissions. My specialty is typically the water side. So what I'll do is go into a facility and look at every process that uses water, including just restrooms, the cooling systems, cooling towers, anything like that. Sprinkler systems, how often are you flushing those? What are you treating? Energy efficiency, we'll see what kind of light bulbs you're using, how often do you have automatic switches on when you leave the room, that kind of thing. Chemical usage, we'll check your inventory, see if maybe there's a less hazardous option you can use, or maybe it's just some better inventory practices. Value stream and carbon footprint. This is kind of looking at the whole process from the supply chain to the final destination there. Waste and reuse, again, if we can't find any other source reductions, and then our air systems and emissions. So why is this so important? Obviously, the push for environmental excellence is becoming so much more predominant. We're seeing so many different groups now that are not just having a health and safety person, but it's an environmental health and safety person. So it's definitely becoming a larger focus of the industry. And waste identification and reduction can quickly become a top priority because of this. Form hard, reporting your waste, and looking for reductions in any way you can. It's just such a big part of things now. So what it does to benefit your operations. One thing, you can manufacture higher quality products if you've got a more efficient system, streamlining it and then saving money in places where you can cut costs in your energy use and things like that, and it's actually buy better quality products. You can have a lower liability with regulatory compliance. Less waste generated means less permitting fees, less monitoring fees. Reducing your business costs and increasing cost savings. Same thing here. We're looking at energy efficiency, which is going to lower your costs. Changing your workplace culture. It definitely, employees like to see that you're trying to be more environmentally friendly, especially the younger generation. They really, really want to see that their business is supporting sustainable projects. So protect worker and health safety. Obviously, if you're using better chemicals and safer chemicals, that will be better and safer environment for your workers. You're also building trust and community relations because in the neighboring community, if you advertise that you're doing all of these great green processes, they get to see it too. You also can identify and improve your water, waste, and energy usage and prioritize the customer and community health. So some recent ones that we've seen from the EPA grants that have been given out for P2, 2011 to 2019. Over 706 million pounds of hazardous materials have been taken out of the industrial process. Over 16.9 million metric tons of greenhouse gas have been eliminated, 404 billion gallons of water, and 1.9 billion in cost savings. So the cost savings is definitely a good way to incentivize top management to care. So when we show all of the great things we're doing environmental wise, we always want to show what it's actually doing for the company's bottom line. So how would you go about doing P2 at your facility? The first thing we do when we do a P2 review is we check the utility bills for the last 2 years or so. We'll look for any specific high points. Here you can tell that's probably the summer months. So you're using more energy, obviously, during those summer months to cool down. You can see we notice a big dip here and it goes back up. We usually will look, as I said, for the last 2 years to kind of see if there was any trends that were noted from year to year and then apply that to the new year. We'll look at what your end uses were. So some companies will look at utility bills and notice a spike in water, maybe in May or something like that. We'll have to investigate why it was so high. One time it was a pressure washing. They did the whole building pressure washed in May, and it used so much more water than what was needed because they weren't recycling anything. It was just all running off. So that was an easy fix to reduce their water use just for that month. We'll also look at these endpoint energy users. So for this facility that we were looking at, their endpoint energy, most of it was going to their robotics. This was an automotive facility. We've also seen it in their motors and their presses, but a lot of energy would still be expended down here in the compressed air, the lighting, the water chiller, and the miscellaneous. One of the ones that's such a big sucker of your energy use is your compressed air, because any leaks that you have are obviously going to compound, and you're going to use so much more energy for that. We're also looking here, this is an example facility we did in North Alabama. We will check their carbon footprint. So using this tool down here, the emissions and generation resource integrated database, you can input what your kilowatt hours per year are for that facility, and it'll calculate what your tons of CO2 are per year. And then you can use this to determine if you do reduce any energy and get more efficient, how much less CO2 are you putting out. So some case studies that we're going to look at now that we've done recently with a dairy manufacturing facility. We've done a aerospace product manufacturer. There's a tier 1 automotive stamping facility, and then a tier 2 also for the automotive that was a plastics manufacturer. And what we like to do, and I've mentioned it before, but we use the low hanging fruit. So what are easy energy efficiency processes? A lot of these companies are ISO 14001 certified, and they have target goals to meet for the environment, you know, reduce certain things by 2% a year or something like that. So giving them some low hanging fruit that makes them meet their goals is a great way to do that. So the dairy manufacturing facility here, what we had is a 2-carton filling machine. They discharge water all the time. So they didn't have a shutoff valve on it. This was a very large dairy manufacturer. They have places all over the country. Basically, the water was just draining straight to the drain anytime there was no production going on. The facility personnel said that it was discharged continuously at a rate of 1 gallon for 41 seconds. So they were using a ton of extra water that they did not need. So what we recommended, very simple, install a solenoid or an actuator so that it only runs as needed to dilute the H2O2 that they're putting into their system here. And because of this simple fix, the cost to implement was under $100. The water waste that they removed was 868,000 gallons a year, which is an annual savings of about 11,000. So just from installing a $100 actuator. And this was so successful, what they did is they shared it with all their countrywide facilities, and this was implemented all over. And that really reduced overall the amount of money they were using just in water waste. So another thing we've seen at facilities is just, it could be a lack of employee awareness. So, you know, training your employees better to understand the difference in your environmental issues and what they can do to contribute. So this was the contents, the entire thing here was in a hazardous waste container at their facility that was going to be disposed of. The problem here, only this at the bottom was actually hazardous waste. All of this was not. Well, there's red and gold, but not really. So the problem here is that is just sucking your money because you have to pay so much more for disposing of hazardous waste than you do for regular waste. And there's that box there. Forgot we had all these pointed out for you. Yeah, so it costs 50 times more to dispose of these materials if they do land in this bin and don't just go into a regular landfill bin. So what that basically means is you're going to, from $2.83 a bag, this stuff up here, to $140 per bag. And this was, at most facilities we go to, we see the stuff that is not hazardous waste is being put in hazardous waste bin. So that's such an easy fix. And not only are you reducing waste at the source, which is great for P2, but it just saves money. And that, yeah, 25 bags per day at this facility that they were dumping out. They just did not need. Next, we're going to look at compressed air. So this is looking at a thing that we have. It's a FLIR attachment that looks at the ultrasonic spectrum there, and it will actually indicate areas where there's a lot of air leaks. So this is between two pipes, the facility. This was automotive, and you can see that they picked up a leak back here. There's a leak coming out about right here. This was something we could take around the whole facility. We'll find hundreds at one. And each of those can be tagged, and then the repair group knows where that spot is, then it can go in. And this is great in facilities where you can't hear the hiss because it's loud from all the other automotive processes. So they are significant sources of waste energy, as I mentioned before. Facilities that don't have some type of active leak program waste upwards of 40% of compressor output just on the season. So that's a large amount of your compressor. This is looking at that piece of equipment here. We've got him looking at these hydraulic pieces that work with the compressors here. And yeah, you can see here, it's an ultrasonic leak detection. What it's called is the DOE Air Master Plus tool that we use to analyze this data once we have it. And the ammeter data here is plugged up to your actual compressors, compares to what you're seeing with the leak. Here's your ammeter data and see how much you're just using in that leak area. So what it looks like is something like this, and I'm not the expert on compressor here, that's one of our other guys, but he's got the profile that shows where they're using a ton of compressed air and can tell peaks. And what it looks at is for a full suite of when the facility is offline and not working, and when it is online, and see what that compressed air looks like when it's offline, and that tells you that there's leaks that's being fed all the time. Yeah, there's another one down here, or you can see there's a piece here, and it does give a list of what that, what the properties of that leak is. So this was the facility. We had done 1 week of amperage data for 3 compressors that they have on site. What they realized, they had a leak load of 297. Assuming an aggressive repair program, they could reduce it by 149. So almost half. And what that means for cost savings per year, your energy reduction per year is 276,000. The energy cost savings about 15,000 per year. And what that means for the CO2 reduction is 143 tons per year. So their simple payback was only a half a year to make their money back for fixing all of these problems. All right, now we're going to look at waste heat. So the DOE estimates that between 20 and 50% of industrial energy input is lost to waste heat. A lot of times we see that in the compressor rooms or those kind of systems where they're trying to just vent straight to the outside and they're just losing that heat completely. Here's an example of one we saw. This was a compressor room. Right behind this compressor, kind of back there, there's a vent that went straight to outside, and it was all year they were doing this. The problem is in the winter, the facility needed a lot of heating up, and it would have been really good to just capture the heat, redirect it into the facility, and that'd save them on their heating bill. And they could vent out still in the summer and reduce that bill as well. So what we had calculated, if they were to vent it in the summer or in the winter, would be about 123,000 kilowatts per year in energy savings, which comes out to about 12,000 in cost savings and 59 CO2 tons per year. Another super easy fix that we've noticed at a ton of facilities are the dock doors here. This is a heat, a thermal sensor. It's our FLIR, and you'll notice here that there's high heat at all the metal components, and also where they're trying to seal the gap down here. So in the summer, they are continuously having to cool down the heat that's coming straight from these dock doors. And they get super hot because they're metal and they're front facing where the sun is on the building, so it continuously is heating up. And what we saw from that, if they were to just add insulation around the edges and insulate around this metal, they'd be about saving about 12,000 kilowatts per year with about $1,000 cost saving, and that's 6 CO2 tons per year. So insulating hot and cold surfaces, another one. This pipe here had no insulation on it, and you can tell from the thermal camera, it's pretty hot there. So what we were seeing is a surface temp of about 136 degrees Fahrenheit. If they would have added a layer of insulation, they bring that down to 86.4. So it shows your heat loss here from BTU. If you didn't have the insulation, it's about 316 BTUs, and that goes down to 26 with insulation. So your efficiency increase would be up to 91.68 here. Okay, sorry, forgot to say the savings here. So yeah, we look at about a $7,000 cost saving from that, and a pretty significant reduction in CO2 tons per year. Another one, sort of similar to the dairy manufacturer, we had a conveyor belt that would take the product from one end, run it down slowly. They did their attachments, and it would go to the next step. The problem is, even when they weren't working, these conveyor belts were running slowly. So they were continuously in operation. As long as the plant was in operation, they only shut down for weekends. The problem with this, obviously you're using a ton of energy, and it's another simple fix. So we recommended they put an actuator on this, and only when a product drops down onto the machine would it move forward. This would save them about 131 kilowatt hours per year, which comes to 13,000 in cost savings and 62 tons per year reduction. All right, so I mentioned already, this is what we do from all this. We get all these different ideas together. We generate a report of all our recommendations. You can implement them over time. You don't have to implement any of them if you don't want, but what we'll do is follow up and see if you've got any good results from it. So the milk company that I was talking about first, the dairy manufacturer, they had implemented it. We know how much they're saving, and the others are still in the process of implementing some of the things we recommended. So if you would share this with any dairy manufacturers, food and beverage, we would love, we're looking at the seafood industry a lot this time, agriculture. So that's it. That's what I've got.
Any, I got a couple of, nobody else does. The reduction slide you showed, like the fourth slide or so, it was kind of the overall APAs.
Yeah.
Based on this grant, so are these findings that you find, are these reported to the EPA?
They are, and yeah, and as a confidential, we don't tell them what company it was, but what we do is we report and they compile all that data yearly and put out what the reductions have been from that year. So.
And how much time does it take to conduct one of these audits? And I know that it's facility size, there's a bunch of variables, but what's an estimated time?
Typically, we do a 2-day audit on site, but it's about a month total with the review of all the utilities and their different process lines and all that. So we're familiar with it. And then we'll be there for a day, do the compressed air audit, because that takes about a day itself. And we'll do the thermal that day as well. And then the other day, we'll look at the water use, and we'll look at chemical use, storage, and inventory.
Do you have a process to teach their existing maintenance personnel or others on how to do these type of things?
We usually will take the maintenance personnel around with us when we're doing the compressed air, and they'll hold us tag, and we show them, how to look for these things. For that one, they would really have to buy an ultrasonic meter or rent one, which is renting an option for sure, and look at that stuff. But as far as usually we will go with the personnel, and afterwards we'll follow up with them, make sure they understand what we're asking them to implement.
My last question, and I have a comment as well, but my last question, how many of these is your goal for UA Safe State? And you guys have received a grant for this.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your internal goal, if I can ask that?
Yeah, we did 5 this past year in the automotive industry. We're looking to do at least 6 or 7 this next year. We've got 3 lined up, 1 automotive and 2 food and beverage ones. So we're looking for at least 3 to 4 more.
And I really feel I really feel like there would be a greater interest had we a greater group. Is there something that you have that we can share with our members?
Definitely, y'all can share this presentation. I'd love to, just y'all can send that in the next mailing letter. Also that video, not simple show, that's super good. It's just like 3 minutes and you can just send that out and it goes over the basis of the program. So I think that would be great. And then we also have a website, which I don't know if it's on here or not, but it's Alabama Safe State P2 and it'll pull up.
And have you done this presentation for Tom's Tuscaloosa group already?
I don't know. I haven't. Did Michael do one for you? No.
How about the Auburn group? Have you spoken to them? So is this these are federal grants? I
Yes,
presume.
yeah.
So are there other states that are doing this as well? Are you communicating with them?
There are some other states that do it. We're actually meeting in DC. I'm going next week. We're having our yearly discussion of all the different things that have been going on, workshopping, what would be good reduction options. So.
I didn't see any steel mills.
No, and there are some that do steel mills. The grant, you can go for any sector you want. Like I said, this year we're doing food and beverage. We did automotive prior, just because they're large in Alabama. But depending on the state, you could probably find some that were, specific to the sector you'd look for.
Sorry to monopolize the
No,
questions, but it's
I'll answer your
pretty
questions.
interesting. I can't.
Is this actually tied to Alabama borders?
I actually don't know the answer to that. I know we mainly only work in Alabama. This is we're doing. There's so many food and beverage in Alabama. I'm not sure if that's the jurisdiction or not.
Sorry for the small group, but we certainly appreciate the information.
Yeah.
Certainly, it's really good to know.
Positive, because, Jason and I, we want you to come out to our facility so you can do this.
That'd be my house.
There you go. Change over to LEDs. That's gonna be my option.
Check out the hot water consumption down the hall.
Yeah, do automatic toilets and LEDs.
Well, thanks again. Good information, and Vincent, you have that presentation. You can
Yes.
share it with our group.
And we'll tie it into the newsletter. I've heard of that little device that does the air checks. But I didn't know they gave that visual.
Yeah, it's really cool. And you can take all the photos and you upload them into one place and it'll give all the data with the photos. And then you can work it in that tool, which is really neat. And then it also gives the facility a good idea of where that actually is. We don't tag it, but we tag it for them too.
Yeah. That's very nice. And a lot of companies, when I first started seeing this, I think that was 20 years ago. First thing they went after was those compressors.
Oh yeah, they're the biggest source by far, by far.
I remember when they had all of them have the drains where it releases the condensate. So sometimes the system would just turn that on to get rid of condensate, and then it was still flowing.
Yeah.
And the big invention was to set it up so that it only depended on how much the liquid, so the liquid went up.
Then it would go, yeah, that's a way better saving.
Yeah, made a big difference.
Yeah, I actually identified a problem with my air compressor in my garage based on a spike in energy. I had a small leak in my compressor that was caused by condensation
Oh, well.
in the compressor tank, and it had leaked. It had rusted through a little pinhole spot, and I noticed my compressor was coming on more frequently than it was, and I didn't do anything about it because I just thought maybe it was hot out or whatever. I was trying to make up some excuse for why I did it. And then the power bill came in. Oh, that thing, it's the only thing that's been different is that compressor runs more. And, I don't leave it on all the time, but I work in the garage a good bit, so we're coming to find out it was a leak, and very easy to fix.
Yeah.
I spent more in the month of dealing with it, me in denial as like than it was to prepare.
Usually how it is with that.
You can certainly relate. Imagine a steel mill or an automotive plant or there's probably
It's a lot. And the thing is, it's so loud. That's the biggest problem because they can't hear the hiss because it just sounds like everything else that's going on in there.
well, good stuff. Thanks again.
I would also mention, I forgot, we do offer compressed air, just not free for anyone outside of the P2 grant. So that's another option. We could come out and do a compressed air survey. Cost, but yeah.
Yeah. But the P2 grant would be certainly a good way to. There's a lot of food processors in our state. and things
Oh,
like
yeah.
that, So that would be good. Quite a few. All right, any other questions? All right, so we'll go ahead and move ourselves right into our regular meeting. Do we still have folks that have joined us online? Ronald and Tammy. Welcome online, folks. And again, what we normally do is we stand for our pledge, we have a quick blessing, and then we eat together, and I've got a few items to cover with us. So let's go ahead and stand, and our flag is up front. So let's pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, guys. Hey, let's just real quick bless. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity that we have to gather as professionals, Lord, to network, and then most of all, to take care of your people. We thank you for our continued health. We pray for our families, wherever they may be. Bless us, food our bodies, and strengthen us, keep us from all this ill. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. All right, well, you guys get yourself a wrap real quick. And I don't have a whole lot of business, so we'll be able to cover it fairly quickly. I do want to kind of give us an update about our current social. Some of you came. Jason was there. Tom, you were there. Vincent, of course. But we met in Trustful last month and had a real good meal, beautiful evening, really cool venue. We didn't have a lot in attendance, but those who did attend had a wonderful time. Our spouses were able to come out with us for the most part, and it made for a really good time away. And we need those times away. We are a professional networking organization, association. You know, we certainly lead safety professionals nationally, but we also network together quite regularly. So if you missed it, there'll be other opportunities. One of which is coming up in our Auburn section. Auburn is having a couple of events later this month, early next month, regarding a WISE get-together, celebrating the anniversary of WISE, and then also a social and small mini safety expo. I don't know if I called it the right name, but those are coming up. So take a look at our website. They're advertised there. And then we have the Region 4 PDC that is going to be in Tuscaloosa. It's April 26th and 27th. You guys have not registered to attend that. That's a great opportunity of professional development. So be on the lookout. If you happen to want to present, kind of hope you're presenting there. Just
I was gonna, but I'm also gonna present at the beach the same week. So
yeah, well, you picked the right one. I used to.
I'll think of y'all though.
Yeah, well, I that's why I picked the governor's office. I have a PVP. I used to present both, and when they got to the 10 weeks, I always picked that. But I feel you.
Submissions closed today.
Today. I knew that they were still open yesterday because that's the time we were again. So they, okay. So how are we on that? Tom, you've been on those calls, Randy, you've been on those calls?
We've got, the details are taken care of. I mean, we've got 34 speaker slots and we've got, I think, 68 submissions as of yesterday. And we're doing pretty good there, but still anyone who's interested, please submit.
Any new business that you all can think of, anything that you'd like to bring to the group?
Paul, I finally got a site to do some excavation and trenching.
Oh,
Yeah, man, we did the Tuscaloosa stuff for, so, we're shooting for the, week of the 28th of May through June, 3rd, I believe is the week. For trenching stand down to do the actual event at city of Tuscaloosa.
man, that would be awesome. So you do have the dates for that.
Not yet, but we get some point. It's either gonna be a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. That's the best days for the city of Tuscaloosa.
Okay. All right. Well, we certainly want to be a part of that as well. Are you gonna arrange it around your?
Probably. Because that'll be the week that we were, so we'll definitely be having that instead of our weekly.
Next. Now, do we, thank you for that. Now, will you keep us in the know? Or we can certainly, we'll probably would arrange our meetings to attend as well, I would think. I know that's been a priority of ours in Oceans, Jason. You know, they have a whole emphasis around
And the regional office is making they're making somewhat of a push right now for it because this year, the numbers have actually started to rise again. There've been a lot of fatalities in trenching this year nationwide. So they're trying to get that word out.
All right. What other announcements or needs, shares or any other thing that needs to be discussed? I would dare say attendance. I had 4 people tell me today that they weren't going to be here. All of them were year-end travel related issues. So, you know, we often see a reduction in attendance. I don't recall one quite this dramatic, but it doesn't, you know, it just may be an off Friday for folks. So by all means, we had advertised it for the ATZ guys. No offense to the ATZ guys. Maybe you had a number was interested in automated traffic zones. Maybe that some didn't see it, but we've got some regulars that didn't call that aren't here. So it's a little bit there is a little bit of flu and a little bit of ugly going around.
The ATZ guys, the on the way coming in here went to waste.
Yeah, I tell you what, that would have been a good day to talk about it, but it sure was. Yeah. Just as an information item, I got a call this morning. You know, my children attend Breakthrough Charter School in Marion, and they had a read a gun violence by a 7th grader. And interestingly, they elected to close the school today as a precaution. But you know, as I continue to hear things about that and about active shooters, and about, you know, it's about like wearing the mask during the pandemic. We all kind of grew cold hearing about it. Unless it was close to home, you know, we sometimes it'll never happen to us, and I'm not gonna try to act like when you feel this way, but just know that it's never more than a person away. And in the safety world, we always say it's an inch or a second, an inch more or a second longer could have been made a small thing, big thing. And this morning, when I got the call from the headmaster at Breakthrough, you know, kind of asking my opinion of what we should do. It was a no-brainer for me, and a lot of me as a safety guy, so it was kind of bounced off. But, you know, we protect our kids like that, we should do the same for our workers. This is an item off subject. So, to be mindful of that. Any other interesting parts? Anybody know what Brady McLaughlin's big announcement is today with the rescue and all of the moving up the big announcement? I didn't know what to do. You guys know Brady. AED expert. I don't have anything, so unless you all have something else, are we meeting in December?
Hey, Paul, are we meeting in December?
You know, our scheduled Friday would be, let me grab that real quick, would be 16, thank you. Yeah, 16 December, and I totally jumped my mind. Tom, what are you guys doing for just
Danny Kaylee's is location on the 2nd of December for us.
Yeah, when you start getting into the 16th, you know, you're you know, really less than 10 days from Christmas, and it's difficult. I know Justin, I don't know if Justin has a speaker lined up for the 16th, but we had talked of earlier about having some type of social event during Christmas, but I would, unless anyone is opposed, I would just suggest that after today, we meet back on that third Friday of January and hit the ground running.
We haven't sent out the newsletter yet, so we can make that announcement, include that in there. I can check with Justin, make sure first.
You know, you could hold a meeting with us on the 2nd of December if you so choose.
Yeah, just to give everyone an opportunity to meet.
We're gonna meet at the Tuscaloosa Gateway Innovation and Discovery Center, which is like University Ave in Tuscaloosa on that Friday of 2nd of December.
Let's put that down as an opportunity.
Yep.
And,
You're welcome.
so the first is not the same thing. What's happening on the first with any.
That's Auburn, Opelika, Montgomery's safety mini conference, whatever you want to call it, get together training thing.
I'm sorry,
Auburn University.
Yeah.
1 to 4, I think, at Auburn University.
Read that list real quick. What are you referring to as that? Auburn Community Safety Expo. It is on December 1st between 1 and 4 p.m. Expo participants are like Granger, ITS, Industrial Tooling and Supply, Air Gas, OSHA, ADEM, Line Safety, Spill Tech, Line Drive, and many more. And It just looks like well, I mean, it just looks like a mini safety expo. We're all familiar with what those are. And it's just an opportunity to participate. Your event on that, the second is just a regular ASSP section meeting with, who is the instructor? Who's the speaker?
Danny Kelly's.
Who?
Danny Kelly's?
Danny, oh my gosh, yeah, long time friend of the group. And he'll be presenting on what? You already said that, I apologize.
Please take some things to go bump tonight.
Oh, yeah, that's a
Something like
good
that.
presentation.
He's been talking about the other flora and fauna that's out there that can have an effect on you in the workplace. So I have to see, he hasn't told me his title yet. That was originally what he.
Yeah, I'll mention that in the newsletter, actually, I'll. Scoop on that, so I can share it with you. Anything else? We'll be done super early if there isn't any. Is any word from OSHA other than what you've given us already?
The agency management plan just came out, about a month ago. Few areas next year that they're gonna be looking at is, you mentioned mental health. You mentioned roundabouts, mental health. That's a big thing. That's a big thing countrywide that is being experienced coming out of COVID. For some reason, a lot of people are struggling. They're seeing a lot of major issues in the construction world specifically, but everywhere. So we probably need to put a little bit more focus on that, start talking to our employees. And a lot of that is leadership, right? I mean, basic leadership, talking to your employees, making sure you understand what's going on with them and getting some good ideas. This past week I was on a VPP site up in Heflin. And it was a phenomenal site. The culture at that site was just wonderful. I mean, we walked in on day one and every employee in there from top to bottom was smiling. Everybody was happy. They were excited to have us there. There wasn't one excuse the entire week. When we found things, they agreed. They didn't argue anything, and they just went forth and conquered. I mean, we were able to leave with no 90-day items, which is a great thing. And recommended to start continuing to start. So it was a good week. Another thing out of the agency management plan is heat, of course, heat stress. So this year was the first kind of big push on that heat stress stuff. Next year it's going to continue the push. Probably expecting around May, June timeframe that we're going to start, maybe even April. You'll start hearing about that. I mentioned trenching is always every year is a big one. One thing that the regional administrator, he was at our office a couple of weeks ago, and one thing he mentioned was that there's been a national emphasis program for trenching since the 80s. Right? And we're still having trenching fatalities. Yeah. And so at this point, if you're having trenching fatalities, probably a little bit of complacency involved, because you know better at this point. Everybody knows at this point. So that's definitely something that Tom and I spoke about earlier at the beginning of the meeting, and that in Tuscaloosa that he's talking about. We have that, and off the top of my head, that's the few things. Of course, normal OSHA stuff, right? But those are the few things that are big. The mental health thing for me is a big one. And we had suicide awareness week, or back in August, September, October timeframe. I've seen soldiers who commit suicide. I've got a best friend that committed suicide growing up. We always sit back and say, well, we never knew, or what happened. But if you really sit back and look at it, there were indicators way before. Yeah. And we've got to be able to talk to people about it. Our generations, we don't talk about mental health, right? We don't even say anything about it, but we got to get to the point where we do. Right? We have to realize that that's not taboo. That's a serious topic.
You don't say anything about it, but it was still there. It was
Absolutely.
mental health issues, but.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we had it, and there's also the taboo of going to see a therapist, nobody, especially for men, Well, I'm a man, I don't need no therapist, you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, if you're struggling with stuff, you probably want to go see somebody, so
Nothing beats talk therapy.
that's it. Right, and so, and if anything, they can give you tools to help you. I mean, heck, I've been to a therapist and it was awesome. I mean, I learned a lot, right, about myself even. So it's good stuff. Those are the kind of things that are going on. And as things open up, I'll tell you guys and let you know, and Randy and know what's going on too.
Good, yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, well, each time you're able to be with us, I think I'll just always make that a point of getting an update from just, there's a lot of good items, a lot of good emphasis. So I'm surprised at that trenching NEP from the 80s because it's out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. And when things are going well, we won't circle back up and look at those. When you guys get an NEP, there are other resources out there for us. We should be taking advantage of regularly. So it's good. Yes. All right. Yeah. Hey, Tom, just introduce yourself real quick.
Yeah,
You-
absolutely.
First meeting.
Nice to meet y'all. My name's Tom Branham. I'm with Tesla Motors. Obviously, we don't have anything near here. I work remote. I about 50% travel. I jointly manage our construction and contractor safety program for North American manufacturing, and I'm also the global program lead for Supercharger, both manufacturing and energy sides of the house. I've been with Tesla for about 5 years now. Before that, I did some environmental engineering consulting work and worked in some construction firms of various sizes throughout the US South. And anyway, it's thank you for this.
Yes, sir.
Again, with the traveling and all that, I've been unable to make previous meetings, but hopefully we'll be able to make a few more as goes on.
Do you do get our newsletter and everything?
Yes.
Excellent.
Thank you all.
Coming out today.
Meeting you.
Meeting you. Now, I do want to give Caleb this very coveted, it's been in the box. So if you would just stand up so we can get a picture.
We moved away from our food.
Oh, yeah.
Question.
Follow. Yeah.
No problem. I'll come speak anytime you need something.
Yeah.
I have a lot of topics I can do.
That one, I just wish the room was full.
Yeah.
A lot of folks can think about that.
Right, and I was hoping to be able to do the one in the spring, like you said, in April, but just won't work out, but I'm teaching managing asbestos in schools down at the beach that week, so for the plant managers conference for schools, which they need all the help they can get on that.
But I said in Pico, are you doing anything with you guys?
Typically, we try to look for we will work with bigger groups. We'd like to look for the smaller ones because they have pretty good